Jai Hind. Good afternoon, all my loving children. Hope you are all fine and safe. My dear children, before I start my class today, I want to share something very important with you people. Just a few days back, children, I got an opportunity to be a part of a webinar, and the webinar was on your English linguistics only. Children, there I just enjoyed learning more than 100 words in only 75 minutes. I was waiting for all my students of class 10, but I could not notice. Only I remember Ram Mohan there. Ram Mohan Dubey was there, but others I don't remember their name. But that name was there because he was responding. Maybe others were also there, but I felt that all of the class 10 students would participate in that webinar. Because why I am mentioning about that webinar, children? Because it was very, very important. All the things which I used to tell you, those things were repeated in the webinar. And the most outstanding thing is that the presenters who were presenting in the webinar, they are much, much younger than me. But then also, they had the same view which I had. Children, do you remember when you used to come, many of you used to come to me, ma'am, how to enrich our vocabulary? Do you remember what I used to say? Yes, children, if you want to enrich your vocabulary, you have to increase your reading power, not static reading. You have to read newspaper, read storybooks, and read as much as you can. That is the only way you can enrich your vocabulary. And that is very important. You would say, ma'am, I want to become an engineer or a doctor. What is the need of your English language? No, children. This vocabulary would help you in all the ways. Even an engineer or a doctor, he needs to write, needs to express. And vocabulary helps you to communicate, either in writing or in oral. So, how can we ignore it? More, what? Another thing which I have told you, another thing, I just forgot. And this communications, if you are very good in communicating, you are perfect in your skills, but you are not a very good communicator, you are not communicating properly, you are not a successful person, I tell you. With your skills, you have to have a good communication also to excel in your career. Right, children? And how do we do it? Please go through the newspapers. Go through the English newspapers. Go through the storybooks. But coming to class 10, अब storybooks mat padna. Please go through the newspapers. Newspapers, always it would help you. Not only in one way, in enriching your vocabulary, but what I say, by enriching your current affairs also. You would be knowing what is happening all around you. Both the ways you will be benefited, children. And this is what again and again I have in your assemblies also I have told you, in your classrooms also I have told you. And the most thing, when I was young like you people, when I was a student, I was a child, that time my grandparents, my dad, my mom, my teachers also used to say in the same way. And after so many years, I saw two presenters who are training the young generation, the present generation of this era. They also had the same view. So things have changed, but the ideologies have not changed, children. They also had the same opinion. I saw them suggesting the people, those who have attended the webinar, they can say, yes, ma'am, it has happened. They also said the same thing. So, children, whatever, during my school days, this was ekdam strict. Two newspapers were there. I'm from West Bengal, so Telegraph and the Statesman. These two newspapers have all have helped me very much in my life, very much. But for you people, please, please go through the newspapers, the Times of India, the Hindustan Times, and regularly, please go through the newspaper regularly, note down the new words, maintain your own dictionary, and then use it in your write-ups. This also I have told you several times in your where in your during this online classes also. Always use your new words in your usages, but that in your write-ups, and that way you would be improving. And now at times we use ornamented words, flowery words, isn't it? वो बहुत अच्छा होता है, नंबर ज्यादा मिल जाएगा. नहीं, उल्टा हो जाता है कई बार, है ना? तो जो वर्ड हम यूज करेंगे उसकी मीनिंग मैं देखूंगी या देखूंगा, ठीक है, और फिर उसके यूसेज को हम पढ़ेंगे. ये नहीं कि कोई अच्छी वर्ड हम देखें और मुझे लग रहा है यही मीनिंग है एंड आई विल यूज इट इन माय राइट अप. नेवर डू इट चिल्ड्रन, दैट वोंट सर्व योर पर्पस, बल्कि पूरा रॉन्ग हो जाएगा. राइट? सो ऑल द बेस्ट. Let me come to your class today. So today I'll be teaching you the poem The Trees by Rich. Now this poem is all about the trees, and about the trees, all of us, we know many things, isn't it? Because now we are very much aware in plantations of tree, as you call deforestation and afforestations, isn't it? So, but this is very true on the other hand, that we human beings who we think that we are very powerful, we are all with our powers, what we are doing? We are cutting down all the trees. For what reason? You will? To meet up our selfish ends, comforts, to set up civilizations, factories, isn't it? We are doing it, and intentionally we are doing it, and we are aware also. On the other hand, we say what we are doing? We are uprooting those trees and planting them again in the glass rooms. We are aware. We are maintaining our balconies with different greeneries. We are in our small garden at the front of our house. We are planting different trees. Yes, we are green lovers. No. First we have to stop cutting trees. And after that, if you want to plant it. Stop uprooting trees. This we have to stop it religiously. Children, here in this poem we will see that this very fact, the trees are also protesting, they are also angry, and what they did? One night, acha, this thing I think you people know, that the natural vegetation is the natural habitat of the insects, the birds, the animals, isn't it? You know this? So, what do we do? So, we have to restore this plants to balance the earth ecological, to maintain the ecological balance, we have to balance, stop cutting or uprooting the trees. Agreed? Yes. Now we come back to the poem again. But as human beings are not aware. So children, what I was saying, like, now you also protest when something goes wrong, na? You protest, ma'am, hum baat nahi kar rahe the, isn't it? So, like the human beings, the plants also, they also protest. So, in this poem, we'll see how one night they all together they plant. Now, all the trees they plant to protest the mankind. And they decided to go back to their original place. That is, what is the original place, children? The forest. They would be going back to the forest. And the trees started uprooting their roots. The branches broke the glass walls. This is all imagination. The trees are personified here. Personified, you remember? When the human qualities are included in a non-human, isn't it? That is personification. So when all the trees now they protested and the branches they broke the trees were all confined within four walls. They broke their boundaries, their walls. They uprooted themselves and they walked back to their forest, their original place. Okay, so this is what is there in the poem, a poem, and more I will be discussing, explaining the poem. Now children, this time I could not make any PPT. I'll be teaching you with a PDF only, right? Hope you would understand it. So I am going to share my PDF and I would ask my children to switch over their mobile phones in their landscape mode. So you can see the trees by Enriching, English first flight poem, right? And now what do? First we come to know about we learn something about the poet. And why do we do so? Just to have some knowledge about the poet, right? Enriching, 1929 to 2012, was born in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. She was a famous poet, essayist, and a feminist. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, 3 collections of essays, and other writings. Poet, you know, the one who writes poems. Essayist, who writes essay. Feminist, those who write about in praise of the females. Feminists, they fight for the females, right? You can see a photograph, a pic, which I could manage for the poet. You can see it on your screen, children. Yes. Now the introduction to the lesson. The poem has a symbolic meaning. The poem has a symbolic meaning. Please learn this. Symbolic meaning. Symbolic. The poem is a symbolic poem. The trees are an extended metaphor for women. The trees are the extended metaphor for women. What is metaphor? Metaphor is that literary device where we do the comparison without using as like. Correct? Yaad hai na? For women. The poet says that the woman has rested, healed, and recovered, are ready for their primary purpose to renew the empty forest of mankind. The poet says that the women have rested, they have healed, They've recovered. They're recovered of the insults, the discriminations, the pains, and now they're ready for their primary purpose. What is the primary purpose of the women? To renew the empty forest of mankind. Now the summary. The poet talks about trees symbolically. The poet talks about trees symbolically. They refer to women who have been healed and are ready to move out of their houses to fulfill their primary purpose. Now, पहले बहुत हम लोग स्टोरी सुने हैं, बहुत कहानियां पढ़े हैं, है ना, कि always we have tried to dominate the females. We have tried to subdue this class, isn't it? But the time has come with the spark of, with the rays of civilization. Now, the women have stretched their arms, stretched their bones, and they are ready to protest and come back equally to the men in the platform of mankind. Right. Now, a woman have remained indoors. The forest has become empty. The birds and the insects have rendered shelters. The sun's rays do not have the tree trunks and leaves to fall upon and thus reach the earth. The forest trees, they act as a canopy, blocking the sun rays to reach the earth, isn't it? But when there would be no trees, the sun rays would directly come and pierce the earth. She says that the forest will be full of trees the next morning. The roots of the trees are working hard to separate from the floor of the veranda where they have remained fixed. The leaves and branches are moving towards the glass windows. They are desperate to move out, just like a newly discharged patient who has not recovered completely and moves to exit doors of the hospital in a hurry. The poet is sitting in her house with the doors of the veranda open. She is writing letters but does not mention this movement of trees. It is night time. The sky is clear and a bright moon is visible. She can smell the leaves and lichen, which seems to be calling out desperately. She hears the glass of the window pane breaking. The trees are moving out and fast blowing wind embarrasses them. As the trees have reached the forest, the tall and strong oak tree overshadows the moon, and it seems the moon has been broken into several pieces. How? The oak trees are tall, and the tall trees, they are blocking the visibility of the moon, and through the branches the moon was visible, and that too in broken parts. Right. So the trees, forest, you can see the wonderful green photograph. Now the poem, very panately, just all your attention to me and just hear me reading out the poem. The trees inside are moving out into the forest. The forest that was empty all these days, when no bird could sit, no insect hide, no sun bury its feet in shadow. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. So, the poet says that the trees are moving out of the confines of the houses into the open forest. This is unrealistic as trees are immovable, and hence we realize that the poem has a symbolic meaning. We interpret that trees refer to the females who have healed themselves and are ready to move out of their homes. या homes मैंने घर छोड़ के नहीं जाना है भाई. All those foundations, okay, which put them back. ठीक है भाई, घर छोड़ के जाने की बात नहीं कर रही हूं मैं. Into the forest to fulfill their primary purpose of filling the world with mankind. Further, she adds that the forest has been empty for the past many days, and so no birds can be seen, and as they do not have any trees to sit on, insects couldn't be seen either, as they did not have any shelter. The sunlight cannot form any shadows. The forest of humanity has remained empty for many days, but will soon be full and bright. Now the literary devices. Personification. Sun bury its feet, sun has been personified. Enjambment, continuation of a sentence to the next line. The forest that was, then the next line, trees by morning. Yes, have you noticed? That is enjambment. Anaphora. 2 lines begin with no. Imagery, the trees inside are moving out. This is imagination, isn't it? Out into the forest. सब बाहर चले जा रहे हैं जंगल तक. This shows a kinesthetic imagery. All night, the root worked to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. Now, what is the meaning of disengage? Remove. Disengage means remove. Okay. All night the roots were, रात भर सब काम किए, ठीक है, अपने आप को वो बंधन से मुक्त करने के लिए. To disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. The leaves strained towards the glass. Now the leaves strained, they stretched out because they want to break through all the 4 worlds they are confined in. Okay. Small twigs stiff with exertion. जब हम लोग exerted हो जाते हैं तब हम लोग क्या होता है, हमारे हाथ पैर एकदम stiffness जैसे हो जाते हैं ना, nerves stiff हो जाते हैं ना, क्योंकि ये पेड़ जो बड़े बड़े पेड़ थे, they were exerting lots of force, pressure, and due to that, the twigs, they stiffed themselves. Okay. Long cramped boughs means branches, shuffling under the roof like newly discharged patients, half dazed, moving to the clinic doors. Okay, the patients who got discharged and half dosed, they are not medically fit, but with their medicines and all, they are half dazed and they are moving to the clinic doors. Disengage means remove. Now please do learn these new words and use them in your write-ups, children. Disengage means remove. Strain means pressure. Twigs means small stem. Exertion means effort. Cramped means restricted. Boughs means branch. Shuffling means mixing. Discharge means send out. Dazed is stunned. The poet explains the struggle done by the plants to reach the forest. She says that the roots worked for the whole night to separate themselves from the veranda floor. The leaves tried hard to reach the window of glass so that they could go outside. Even the small stems of the trees put much of their effort in order to set themselves free. The big branches were also trying a lot to go out of the roof of the room. We can say that women are desperate for a change, and their effort is compared to that made by a patient who has been released from the hospital. He tries to move out in a hurry, although he is confused. Maybe because they are half conscious under the influence of some medications. They are unsteady but in a hurry to leave the clinic. Right? Now, what are the literary devices used here? Enjambment means continuation of sentence to the next line. The leaves strain ... You can see those lines there. And we continue in the next line, that is half-dazed. Right? Simile. Trees are compared to patients. Like is used there. Like newly discharged patients. Like newly discharged patients. Personification. Twigs and boughs have been personified. Even the trees are also personified here. Right, children? So, with this, we move on to the next paragraph. I sit inside, doors open into the veranda, writing long letters in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. The night is fresh, the whole moon shines in a sky still open. The smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. Now lichens, what are lichens? Those are the patches, the fungi patches, the fungus you have seen in the trees. Now, scarcely is barely. Departure means leaving. Lichen, yes, it's given here. Crusty patches or bushes of fungus and algae on the tree trunks having a distinct smell. एक सोंधी सोंधी सी महक होती है. The poet says that she is sitting in her veranda, writing long letters. She does not mention about the trees leaving her house in her letters. ये नहीं बोलती है कि उनके घर से जा रहे हैं. ठीक है? She says that the night is very clear. You can see the picture there. She can see complete moon which is shining. The smell of the leaves and the lichen is like a voice which is yelling and expressing a desire for the freedom. जैसे कि सब कोई एक चीख रहे हैं मुक्ति पाने के लिए. To get to free themselves, to get the freedom from the confinement of the four walls of a house or a room. Now, literary devices, alliteration, the long letters, forest forms, alliteration, long letters LL, forest form sky still SS, leaves lichen LL. Enjambment, continuation of a sentence to the next line, like the doors open is the ending and the starting is the house. Imaginary, the poet has tried to create a scene in which he is observing all the things happening. The night is fresh into the rooms. Now, my head is full of whispers, which tomorrow will be silent. Listen, listen, the glass is breaking. The trees are stumbling forward into the night. Winds rush to meet them. The moon is broken like a mirror. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. So, what the poet is saying there, he is asking us to listen to those whispers, listen to those noise where the trees are struggling hard and they're stumbling, they're tripping over, and they're proceeding towards their original place, the forest. And it's also, the poet is saying, you can hear the hush of the wind, who is also eager and excited to meet the trees back. The wind is rushing ahead to meet them, to as if to welcome them back to their original place. The moon is like a broken mirror. Why the moon is a broken mirror? Because the oak tree is a tall tree, and the branches and the leaves of the tree, it's just like a canopy, and it's blocking the visibility of the moon, and we can see it through the branches, giving an impression that the moon is just like a broken mirror. Now, whispers means murmur, stumbling means trip over, flash means glare, shine, oak, a large strong tree generally used for making furniture. Oak tree wood is also used for making your cricket bats, na? मुझे लगता है वही है. Her head is full of slow sounds made by the trees which are desperate to move out. These sounds will not be heard the next day because they'll be leaving the place and they'll be reaching their original place. The poet asks the reader to listen those noises carefully as a change is about to take place. एक परिवर्तन होने को है. बहुत धैर्य से कवि बोलते हैं वो सब आवाजें सुने. She hears the glass window breaking, the trees stumble out into the night. The wind is blowing outside. It meets the tree. The moon is like a mirror and it appears to have been broken into pieces as the shadow of the oak tree divides the moon into many fragments. Now, what are the literary devices used in this paragraph? The moon is compared to a mirror. Moon is like a mirror. This is simile. Comparison using as, such as, like is simile. And without such as, like, it is metaphor. Good. So with this, I end my class today. I've extended my class today because I wanted to finish it off. Never mind, children. Yes, a bit of extra time I've taken. Are you annoyed with me with that? Don't get annoyed. Literature classes can be extended. This is not your maths class, right? So we talk much, in literature. So it can be extended. Never mind. Now what do you do? I'll be sharing the PDF of the question answers also. Please solve the NCERT book question answers in your notebooks. Maintain your notebooks, right? Index, cover page, everything, right? And please keep on learning the exercises which we are teaching you, learning the chapters which we are teaching you. So, with the hope that you will be my good children as you are always. So, I'll just take a goodbye from you people. Jai Hind, my dear loving children.